Excuse me, where's the lobby?
Down the hall and to the left.
Thanks.
A well-educated black has a tremendous advantage over a well-educated white.
I didn't know she was black.
I get to be black for a summer in my mind.
I don't believe you people.
What do you mean, you people?
There's a Mexican, a Jew, and a colored guy go into a bar. The bartender looks up and says, "Get the f*** out of here."
Hollywood has always been a place of glitz, glamour, and fame. But behind the shining lights of the red carpet and the dazzling performances, a dark and often hidden history has been lurking. In an industry celebrated for its power to shape culture, it's also been one where racism has taken root in some of the most unexpected and often shocking ways. From outright discrimination to veiled microaggressions, some of Hollywood's biggest stars have not only been caught in controversy, but have at times been the very architects of racism. So join us as we uncover 30 of the most racist actors in Hollywood history.
The number one fear is public humiliation, okay? I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm not afraid of it.
Mel Gibson, a name synonymous with action films and box office hits, also carries a dark reputation. Over the years, the actor and director has been involved in multiple racist incidents that have overshadowed his success. Most notably, during a 2006 DUI arrest, he made a shocking anti-Semitic rant that became public, sparking outrage. He later apologized, but the damage was done. Then, in 2010, leaked recordings revealed Gibson using racist slurs against his then-girlfriend, Oksana Grigorieva. This behavior painted a very ugly picture of Gibson, a man who, despite his immense talent, has remained a controversial figure in Hollywood.
The rest of the country should feel terribly guilty about anything because they have had a better life here and their fathers and mothers than they would have had anyplace else.
Known as the quintessential American cowboy, John Wayne built a career around playing tough, heroic roles. But his views off-screen were far from brave. In a 1971 interview, Wayne made openly racist comments about Native Americans, calling them savages and justifying the mistreatment of indigenous people. In another interview, he voiced his disdain for civil rights movements and black people in general. His legacy, while legendary in terms of film, is tainted by these deeply troubling views that have resurfaced repeatedly in discussions about his career.
Owner of face cannot always see nose.
All right, what's the big discovery?
While not a single actor, the portrayal of Charlie Chan in Hollywood movies has been a point of contention for decades. White actors often played a role in Yellowface, most notably Warner Oland and Sidney Toler. This racist practice perpetuated harmful stereotypes of Asian people as subservient, mysterious, and often criminal. The role of Charlie Chan was widely accepted at the time, but looking back, it's clear that this portrayal did significant damage by reducing an entire culture to one-dimensional stereotypes.
Oh, they put that down. Raw.
Jimmy Stewart's legacy as an iconic actor is complicated by allegations of racism, particularly in relation to his work on the man who shot Liberty Valance. In his biography, Jimmy Stewart, The Truth Behind the Legend, Michael Munn recounts an interview with actor Woody Strode, who suggested that Stewart seemed to prefer the company of white actors like John Wayne and Lee Marvin. Further fueling controversy, Stewart's disapproval of Strode's costume, comparing it to Uncle Remus, led to a public confrontation with director John Ford, who accused Stewart of harboring prejudices.
Who are white people? So are white people. What a terrible question to ask. So are white people. More white people, by the way. More white people.
Yes, the U.S. president has spent much of his life in front of cameras, making appearances in films and TV shows. But his on-screen persona is far from the worst of his issues. Trump has been publicly criticized for his racist remarks and behavior, from calling Mexican immigrants racist to making derogatory comments about black communities. His influence in Hollywood, particularly with his cameo appearances in films like Home Alone 2, serves as a stark reminder of the power of those in the industry to spread harmful ideologies.
A lot of movies
And I remember them all, too. One of my first appearances in films was with Laurel and Hardy. I think it was a comedy.
Robert Mitchum, an iconic actor of Hollywood's golden age, became embroiled in controversy for his racist, anti-Semitic, and sexist remarks throughout his life. Known for his stoic, tough guy persona, Mitchum often made disparaging comments about various groups, even drawing attention for a notorious Esquire interview. There, he attempted to prank his interviewer, but his behavior came across as bigoted, revealing deep-seated prejudices. He also publicly supported the Republican Party in 1992, further aligning himself with controversial views. While his film career thrived, Mitchum's personal beliefs tainted his legacy, overshadowing his iconic roles for many.
I don't know if I should present this award on behalf of all the cowboys shot in all the John Ford westerns over the years.
Clint Eastwood isn't just known for his tough guy roles. He's also made some pretty controversial statements over the years. From brushing off women's rights to making racist comments, his manly image often came with a not-so-great attitude. One of his most talked-about moments was a 1973 interview with Playboy, where he downright disrespected the civil rights movement. His old-school approach to masculinity seemed to include some pretty outdated and harmful views. It's the kind of stuff that makes you cringe when you look back at it today. He may be a legend in Hollywood, but his past definitely isn't spotless.
I see it. You have a certain responsibility to them. It's a responsibility you cannot adequately fulfill to each individual.
Charlton Heston is best known for playing heroes in movies like Ben-Hur, but off-screen, his views were a bit more complicated. Back in the day, he was a strong supporter of segregation during the civil rights movement, which definitely didn't sit well with a lot of people. Later on, he became a big advocate for gun rights, but his earlier stance on race left a huge mark on his reputation. While he's remembered as a Hollywood legend, those outdated views make it hard for some to fully celebrate his legacy. It's a reminder that even icons can have a messy side that doesn't always match the role they played in front of the camera.
With the rest of the monkeys.
With the rest of the monkeys.
Yeah, I'll bring my grandpa with me.
I want to get a moving picture of you in the lion's cage.
Well, if you ever do...
Burt Williams was a comedian and actor back in the early 1900s, and while he was a trailblazer for black performers, some of his work was pretty problematic. He often performed in blackface, which meant he painted his face to look like a stereotype of black people. While Burt was super talented and opened doors for future black actors, his roles still relied on harmful racial stereotypes that reinforced negative ideas about black folks. It's a tough mix. He made history, but the way he did it also caused a lot of harm.
To people with facile answers, or preachers who try to turn religion into politics, we've got to do it ourselves. That's always the way we've done it. It's what our country stands for.
Jane Fonda is often celebrated as a feminist hero and activist, but her past has a few bumps. One of the most controversial moments was when she visited North Vietnam during the Vietnam War. Many people saw it as her supporting the country's anti-American views, which caused a major uproar. On top of that, her stance on race relations at the time didn't sit well with everyone. Some felt she wasn't fully aware of the complicated racial issues in America, which only added to the backlash she received. Despite these missteps, Fonda has remained a powerful figure in activism, but that trip to Vietnam still stirs up a lot of conversations.
Anybody know who David Letterman is?
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I thought that's what you were going for. I thought that's where you were going, and I just sort of wound it up in my own self.
In a recent interview, Lucy Liu revealed a troubling encounter with Bill Murray during the filming of Charlie's Angels. Liu described how Murray singled her out in an unsettling way, though she didn't go into full detail. According to Liu, the cast and crew had reworked a scene to improve its flow while Murray was absent due to a family commitment. However, when he returned, his comments targeted Liu specifically. The situation, which Liu addressed during her appearance on the Los Angeles Times Asian Enough podcast, highlighted a tension on set that had remained under the radar until now.
I'm Irish American and never would I pretend to be an African. You needing a history lesson because you forgot where you came from.
Mark Wahlberg's past includes a troubling history of racially motivated violence. In 1986, at just 15, he and his friends harassed a group of mostly black children, throwing rocks and shouting racial slurs. The next day, they targeted the same kids again. 2 years later, in 1988, Wahlberg brutally attacked 2 Vietnamese men while under the influence of PCP, beating one unconscious with a wooden stick and punching the other in the eye. Though he has since apologized, many still question whether his rise to fame would have been possible if he weren't a privileged white celebrity.
Owners don't carry brooms. I'm a trainer.
Oh, in that case, would you kindly announce to the owner that the
William Frawley is best known as Fred Mertz on I Love Lucy. While his grumpy on-screen persona made him a perfect fit for the role, his off-screen behavior was more problematic. Reports suggest that Frawley frequently used racial slurs and held prejudiced views, a reflection of outdated attitudes that were more tolerated in his era. Though his contributions to television history are undeniable, his legacy is tainted by these troubling aspects of his character.
7 o'clock in the morning, and Michael Jackson sitting there going, "I'll be there, I'll be there."
Alec Baldwin has found himself in hot water more than once because of his racist comments. His most infamous scandal happened in 2007 when he left a nasty voicemail for his daughter, calling her a thoughtless little pig. Yikes. He eventually apologized, but his past comments about race raised a lot of eyebrows. People couldn't help but wonder if those were just slip-ups or if they really reflected his true feelings. Baldwin's history of controversial remarks has definitely left a mark, making it hard for some to forget. It's safe to say his words have stirred up more than just a few waves in Hollywood.
Anything you turned down, Gary?
I've turned a few things down. I can't say I regret, but I couldn't mention them.
Gary Oldman's career hit a rough patch after a 2014 interview where he made some pretty shocking comments. He got into hot water when he talked about Jews, African Americans, and the LGBTQ community in ways that upset a lot of people. But what really got him in trouble was his claim that Jews run Hollywood, a remark that didn't sit well with many. People weren't having it, and the backlash was intense. The controversy made Oldman's once stellar reputation take a serious dive, leaving fans and critics questioning his views. It's a perfect example of how one bad interview can flip everything upside down.
That was an extremely busy period for me. That was, not only was I shooting movies, I was also doing Academy campaigns.
Russell Crowe is no stranger to controversy, and his fiery temper has definitely got him in trouble a few times. One unforgettable incident happened when he got into a heated argument with a hotel worker and used some pretty offensive, racially charged language. The whole thing caused a major stir, and even though Crowe eventually apologized, it left a lasting mark on his reputation. It was one of those moments that made everyone pause and think twice about the actor behind those intense roles. It definitely wasn't the image fans were used to seeing.
Their attitude, how they step on a horse, how they step off a horse. And I've never seen a Western character yet with his sleeves rolled up. Neither have I ever seen a Western that grab a hat by the crown.
Walter Brennan was one of Hollywood's most celebrated character actors, winning 3 Academy Awards and starring in classics like Rio Bravo and Sergeant York. However, behind the scenes, Brennan held deeply problematic views. He was a staunch supporter of the far-right John Birch Society, a group known for its segregationist stance. Brennan reportedly saw any liberal ideology as communism and allegedly expressed joy when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. While many old Hollywood stars held racist beliefs, Brennan's views were particularly extreme, making him a controversial figure despite his cinematic legacy.
We're not talking about people who come here. Does it take a super rich person to get behind their Volkswagen?
Elizabeth Taylor may be remembered for her incredible charity work and glamorous life, but behind the scenes, she wasn't always the perfect role model when it came to race. A few biographers have pointed out that she made some pretty harsh comments about African Americans and had some old-fashioned views on race relations. Despite her fame, she wasn't exactly on the cutting edge of progressive thinking. It's a bit of a tough pill to swallow, considering how beloved she was by many, but it's important to acknowledge the full picture of her life. Even the brightest stars have their dark spots.
Think it's good to slap a woman?
No, I don't think it's good. I
think it's bad?
I don't think it's that bad. I think that it depends entirely on the circumstances and if it merits it.
Sean Connery, the legendary James Bond, has definitely stirred the pot over the years. While fans adored him as the suave spy, some of his comments in interviews raised more than a few eyebrows. Connery openly said that he thought hitting women could be acceptable in certain situations, which many found shocking and offensive. On top of that, his remarks in interviews have been criticized as casually racist. From casual attitudes towards race to his controversial take on handling women, Connery's words often sparked outrage, leaving fans and critics divided. Despite his iconic career, these comments have followed him, casting a shadow on his legendary status.
It was hard, but we're always on chats, and the only one that is not really good because he's very old is Ed O'Neill.
Sofia Vergara has definitely made a name for herself as a successful Latina actress, but not without some controversy along the way. She's had her share of attention for making racially insensitive comments about her own background, and some of her roles have drawn criticism for leaning too heavily on stereotypes. While she's a beloved figure in Hollywood, her portrayals have occasionally raised eyebrows, with people questioning whether her humor or character choices sometimes cross a line. It's a bit of a mixed bag. While she's earned tons of fans, some argue her approach to certain roles doesn't always shine the best light on her heritage. It's definitely a conversation worth having.
Who knows you never go full retard. What do you mean? Check it out. Dustin Hoffman, Rain Man, look retarded, act retarded, not retarded.
Robert Downey Jr. definitely stirred up some serious buzz with his wild role in Tropic Thunder. In the movie, he plays a white actor who goes all out and wears blackface for a role, which many people thought was a funny jab at Hollywood's messed up history with race. It was meant to be a bold satire, pointing out the ridiculousness of how race has been portrayed in films. But here's the thing, not everyone found it funny. Some felt the whole thing crossed a line, as it tapped into some pretty hurtful stereotypes that have caused real damage in the past. So while it was meant to be satire, it left a lot of people feeling uncomfortable.
When I was 11,
yeah,
maybe 9 through 11, I was a beatnik for Halloween every year. Oh, is that right? Yes. I decided to do my little homage to it.
John Travolta's career has been full of legendary roles, from Saturday Night Fever to Pulp Fiction. But not all of his performances have aged well. Some of the characters he's played, especially those involving racial or ethnic minorities, sparked serious criticism. In certain roles, people felt he leaned too heavily into harmful stereotypes, which didn't sit well with audiences. While Travolta's talent is undeniable, these controversial roles have raised questions about how Hollywood portrays race. It's one of those things that makes you stop and think. Were those characters pushing boundaries or just reinforcing old, tired ideas? It's a complicated part of history, for sure.
I'm telling you the truth, I swear to God. I'm telling you the truth, stop it. So then she hits me a couple more times, and I just kind of it doesn't go from translation to let's sit down, I'm telling you the truth.
Chris Brown is no stranger to controversy. While he's famous for his music and acting, his career has been full of drama. Most notably, his 2009 assault on Rihanna shocked the world and left a stain on his reputation. But that's not all. He's also been called out for making racist comments on social media and in private, sparking even more outrage. With his history of violent outbursts and a general disregard for the consequences of his actions, Chris has become a very divisive figure in Hollywood. Some love his music, but his offstage behavior has earned him a lot of criticism that continues to follow him.
This narrative has really been a narrative throughout this country's history. Right. It's been a narrative throughout this country's history, from the Bacon Rebellion to the Emancipation Proclamation.
Danny Glover is known for his amazing work as an activist, always fighting for racial equality and justice. But he's also stirred the pot a few times with some pretty controversial views. For example, he's openly supported figures like Fidel Castro, which hasn't exactly earned him a lot of fans in some circles. On top of that, his involvement in debates about race and politics has sparked tension, leaving some people questioning where he truly stands. While his passion for social causes is undeniable, it's clear that his opinions have sometimes landed him in hot water.
I was disappointed in myself, but I would still pour the drink because I didn't know how I would make it through. I didn't know that I could actually be strong enough without it.
Jessica Simpson's early career was all about her blonde, bubbly image, which fans loved. But over time, her journey has hit a few bumps with accusations of being racially insensitive. One of the biggest moments came when she made an offhand comment about her Mexican heritage while filming The Dukes of Hazzard. People didn't take it well, calling it out as ignorant and full of stereotypes. Even though she quickly apologized, it didn't exactly fix things with her critics. Instead, it became another part of her complicated Hollywood history, with some fans still unsure how to feel about her past comments.
It's tough. This year is going to be really, really tough because I do have more than one favorite for each category. Obviously, I'm biased. I really want Avatar: Way of Water.
Zoe Saldana, famous for her roles in Avatar and Guardians of the Galaxy, landed in hot water for her portrayal of Nina Simone in the 2016 biopic Nina. Instead of being praised, she was slammed for wearing heavy makeup and a prosthetic nose to transform into the iconic black singer. Many saw it as a clear case of blackface, which sparked outrage. People felt it was disrespectful not only to Nina Simone's powerful legacy, but also to the black community. The backlash was huge, and the whole situation became a major discussion about representation and authenticity in Hollywood. It's a perfect example of how some decisions can backfire big time.
Was white! Damn it!
This is her comeback? Seriously? Roseanne Barr launches an ear-piercing tirade.
In 2018, Roseanne Barr's long career took a shocking nosedive after she posted a racist tweet about Valerie Jarrett, a former aide to President Obama. The backlash was immediate. Within hours, ABC canceled the hit revival of Roseanne despite its massive success. The network called Barr's comments abhorrent and out of line with its values. Though she later blamed the tweet on medication, the damage was done. Cast members distanced themselves and Hollywood largely turned its back on her. What had been a celebrated comeback instantly became a warning message about the consequences of offensive rhetoric in the digital age.
Well, as you know, he moved back to the UK and his life is really there and my life is really not there.
Yeah, right.
But I love him to pieces.
Sarah Silverman is famous for her edgy humor, but not everyone loves her jokes. In the beginning, she got attention for using racial and ethnic stereotypes in her comedy, often crossing lines that many felt were offensive. Her jokes sometimes pushed the envelope in a way that didn't sit well with a lot of people. Over the years, she's apologized and worked hard to change her style, moving away from those old, controversial jokes. But her past still comes up in conversations, leaving her with a reputation that's hard to shake. It's like she's constantly having to remind everyone that she's grown and learned from her past mistakes.
I don't remember where, but I remember that I don't think we were on the same team.
Oh.
And
did you win or did I?
I remember kicking your butt.
David Schwimmer, famous for his role as Ross on Friends, isn't just known for his hilarious antics on screen. He's also faced some heat off screen. While he's publicly supported movements like Black Lives Matter, he stirred up controversy in 2019 when people accused him of cultural appropriation over a costume that didn't sit right with many. On top of that, his sometimes awkward comments about race in interviews have made some question whether his progressive views are as solid as they seem. It's like, for all of his good intentions, he occasionally trips up in ways that make people go, wait, what?